Hi, everyone. Welcome to Happy to See Me, the podcast that puts the spotlight on the overlooked and underestimated. I'm Erika Casupanan, and welcome to Season 3 of Happy to See Me. Today, I am starting off Season 3 by talking to Big Brother Canada 12 winner, Bayleigh Pelham. This interview is amazing. But first, I love to start each episode by talking about something I was happy to see this week, but it's been a whole summer since I've talked to you, so I feel like I have to have a full summer's worth of happy to see things within one intro, so let me try to go through it quickly. I had an amazing summer. I hope all of the listeners did too. I got to go to Europe, and it was my first big trip since before the pandemic, and I had so much fun. I went to Italy to see one of my close friends from Toronto get married. It was in Tuscany. The resort was amazing. I had these beautiful pink dresses. Check it out on Instagram if you want to see any of my Italy trip. And actually, when I was in Italy, serendipitously, my best friend from when I was a kid, easily the person who was my best friend in elementary school and in high school, happened to be in Florence on the same night as me. So she and I got to have a little gelato date in Florence. It felt like it was meant to be. After that, I went to Berlin and I spent a week with one of my best friends from high school, and I had an incredible time catching up with him. And also, another one of my close friends from Toronto happened to be in Berlin at the same time. This is a friend who is from Toronto but has been living in the States for the last couple years. So again, I couldn't believe that I just happened to be in the same city as one of my close friends. So she and I got to have this fun friend date in Berlin. So this whole Europe trip was so magical. Ooh, also, I turned 35. Yes, I know, despite me always getting ID'd when I buy alcohol, I am 35 years old. And I booked this private comedy class for my friends and I. It was like a clown comedy class, but I would describe it as adult play. But then when I describe it as adult play, that sounds like it's probably inappropriate. So it's more like, as adults, we don't have the time to be present and play. So basically, we just played clown-like games for 3 hours. And all of my friends who went were all very much unsure of what it was about. They were very much like, okay, we're going to come to this party because we love you and you want to do this, but we don't know what this is. But at the end, everyone said it was the most amazing thing that they ever did. So it was so cool to be able to integrate my friends and one of my hobbies for my birthday. So now your girl is 35. My little brother got married, so I officially have another sister. I did more keynote speaking, which is one of my favorite kinds of work to do. And I actually met some Happy to See Me listeners in real life. So if you're listening, thank you so much for letting me know you support the podcast. And thank you to anyone, whether I've met you in person or not, for supporting the podcast. The podcast actually got nominated for a few awards this summer. So if you voted for the podcast, thank you so much. It's so validating to be recognized like that. I was not expecting that at all. And most importantly, this summer, I took a break. I got some rest. I feel like I'd been going nonstop over the last few years. If you follow me on social media, maybe you noticed I took a step back from posting on social media as often as I usually do during the summer. And I love podcasting. At the same time, having a weekly podcast with new guests every week for a team of one is a lot of work. So I really needed the break this summer. But now I am back. I am energized and ready for season 3. I have been recording episodes all month, and I can't wait to share all of these interviews. I have inspirational interviews with people you might recognize from social media, reality TV, and other surprises. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube so you can check out who is here for season 3. But truly, thank you so much for coming back to the podcast after I took a little break, and I'm excited to be back and speaking with you every week. And I could not have asked for a better guest to kick off season 3 of Happy to See Me. Today, I am speaking to Bayleigh Pelham, the winner of Big Brother Canada 12. We talk about what it was like for her to learn that she was the last Big Brother Canada winner when she found out the show got canceled after her season. Plus, she tells a story about her almost getting cast on Big Brother Canada 11, being removed from the cast at the very last minute, and then tuning into the show to see her ex is on the cast and he ended up winning. You can't make this up. This is just the wildest story, and I'm happy that things ended up so much better for Bayleigh in the end. And we talk about what it's like to be girls who started dating girls in our 30s. So there's a bit of everything in this interview, and honestly, I felt like there's so much that Bayleigh and I had in common when it came to our reality TV journeys. So if you know a Big Brother Canada fan or a reality TV fan, make sure you share this episode with them. Let's just get into it. Here is my interview with Bayleigh Pelham. I hope you enjoy it. Bayleigh, number one, congratulations on being the winner of Big Brother Canada, dream come true. And I'm also so happy to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Well, congrats on your win as well.
Thank you. Thank you. We love when a Canadian woman can come out on top. And so many people I talked to were so pumped to hear from you today. They're over the moon that I'm chatting with you.
That's crazy. That's so nice. I feel like at this point, people have forgotten about me. So that's really nice.
No? Okay, wait. Tell me why. I relate so much to so many parts of your journey. So I'm like, okay, Tell me. Why do you think people have forgotten about you?
Maybe it's just from like, I'm moving on from the show. So I feel like other people are inevitably like just kind of forgetting about it. Like there was such a high when you first finish your show and there's so much buzz around it. And then life goes on. So when people still stop me or congratulate me, it's just like a nice, pleasant surprise that people are, it's still like relevant or that people are still excited to like talk about it. So yeah, sometimes I'm just like, really? People still care? But it's always nice.
I still have that feeling all the time. I won 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And still, even this weekend, people were coming up to me and recognizing me. And I think all the time I have that moment where I'm like, okay, it's been a few years now. People are over it. People don't care. And then someone will come up to me. So I think especially after people were so pumped to see you as the winner, I think you're still going to have a lot of that.
Like I've been such a fan of lots of reality shows. And I still remember people from season 1 of reality shows. So like you forget that, you know, once you leave your mark on reality TV, you're kind of there forever. So it's nice, but you also have like imposter syndrome where you're like, really? Me?
I get it. A few episodes ago, I had Mitch Moffat on the podcast, and he was talking about the science of what it's like to be on reality TV. And he was saying that the attention that you get, it's unlike anything else. I think that even if you're a big fan of the show, you can't really prepare yourself for that attention. And Mitch was saying it's like being on drugs. And then when you come down, there's nothing that's quite like it. So then even though life is fine and probably everyone still loves you and loves that you won, nothing compares to that initial high of when you won. So it feels like it's never going to be good enough.
Right. It always feels like it's a downhill thing, but it's not.
It's not. I mean, you have so much to look forward to. You have so much coming up. And also, I want to hear about your whole journey to even getting here. So I have read that you were a super fan who auditioned many times. So how many times did you actually audition, and what made you motivated to keep going over the years?
I auditioned. I actually don't know the amount of times. I think I missed like 2 years because I was living in Halifax. I moved to Toronto. I was back in Halifax. So I was kind of like, sometimes I was out of the country when they were doing, because they used to do in-person auditions, which is what I started off doing. It's been my dream. I'm a huge fan of Big Brother as a franchise as a whole. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it came to Canada, I was like, I have to get on. And I'm the kind of person, like, if I put my mind to something, it needs to get done. So no matter, I was like, if I'm like 50 years old, I'm still going to try because I know that I'm meant to get on the show, or like, it's just my passion. Everything about the show are things that I love to do. I love playing games. I'm very competitive. I wanted to be on TV, like all the things. So I just was very determined to never give up on that. I got discouraged a few times, like getting really close a couple of times and then not getting on. But then the closer you get, the more like it's just right there. So I just knew it was a matter of time. I knew it had nothing to do with like them not liking me. It was just the right fit at the right time. So yeah, I auditioned probably like 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I can relate. I was a fan of Survivor since the first season in the US. All my life, I was like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to be on that show, even though Canadians weren't eligible to be on the show. And then I was lucky enough to be the first person living in Canada to get cast on the show. But how do you know in your gut that you're meant to be on the show? What did that feel like? What did that look like?
Honestly, like my whole life, it's been very unconventional. Like I don't really do the things in a regular sequence that other people like are expected to do. So it was a dream of mine, and I knew it sounded very far-fetched to some people, but it's kind of unexplainable what it feels like to know. I think, and it sounds silly sometimes because you're like, my purpose was to be on a reality TV show, but I knew that that was what I was supposed to do. And like things would make sense if I got on, because I felt it in my gut that if I did get on, I could win it. And I never felt really that way about anything else in my life. Like even certain jobs that I did or schools that I went to was like, I can do this, but I'm not like meant for it. I don't really know how to explain it. I'm sure you can relate. It was just, there's certain dreams that like might sound far-fetched to some people, but to you, it's very attainable as long as the right person at the right time like believes in you. I already had that with myself. I just needed like someone else to see it. So I just was holding out hope that someone would.
There's something about, it's almost like you're living in this delusion for years.
Yeah.
I was telling everybody I knew for years, I'm like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to be on Survivor, and when I win, then I'm going to do this. And I knew I sounded crazy, but then once I was on the show, everybody I knew was like, yeah, I'm not surprised that you ended up there.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people, like even like castmates on the show were like, are people going to be shocked when they find out you're on the show? I'm like, no, they might be really excited, but they're going to be like, oh yeah, she's been saying this since she was like 10. So it only sounds crazy until it happens, but you have to be crazy. Like if every person ever that accomplished their dreams didn't believe that they could, then they wouldn't have been.
I'm all for everybody being crazy. I'm like, be delusional within limits. And that's how stuff happens. That's how we're both winners.
You make it. Yeah.
Yes. I loved hearing the story of how you came so close on BB Can 11. So this was news to me. After the season aired, you shared that you and Ty from BB Can 11 used to date. So was he a fan, or were you the super fan in this partnership?
He was not a fan. I was the super fan. So when we dated, I like forced him to watch Big Brother and like all of my shows. And he got into it. Like he appreciated the show or whatever. I never thought in a million years he would want to be on a show like that. So when I found out he was on the show, I was like shocked. Like it was the last person I thought would go on, but I guess they recruited him, which makes sense. But yeah, no, he didn't really know anything about the show before me.
Oh my God. And you were supposed to be on that season, right?
Yes. That whole story was, I auditioned that year. I got all the callbacks. I flew out to Toronto. You know, I was in the hotel. They took my phone. Everything was happening as it would if you were to be on the show. But they do one final like interview with you when you get there. And I did that, and I didn't really hear much back from that. And it was like a few days. And I even felt like something is weird's happening, because usually like they would tell you right away that you're on. They inevitably like caught me. They didn't really give me the reason why. And I had a weird feeling. It was actually like Ty's birthday, the day that I got cut from the show. So I'm on my social media. I'm like, oh, it's his birthday. Haven't talked to him in a really long time. I'm going to wish him a happy birthday. And when I went to message him on Instagram, I noticed that like he hadn't posted anything in a really long time, which is really weird because he's very like on social media. He didn't answer my message, which was weird. He usually does. And then I just had a weird feeling that maybe he's on Big Brother. And everyone thought I was crazy because, again, last person you would think would be on it. But I'm like, I know that it would make sense. And if I find out that he's on the show, I'm literally leaving the country. And then I found out he was on. So they never confirmed nor deny that that was the reason, but I'm pretty sure that was the reason, because I spoke to him after, and they did ask him about me while he was in the holding. So, yeah. So I think that they kind of debated over those few days who they were going to pick, and they chose him. So it was a crazy story.
What a heartbreaker. So then if this was your dream and you knew this was your ex who only enjoyed the show but wasn't a super fan, how do you watch that season knowing you got so close and he is the one that's on the show?
Honestly, it took me a minute. Like when I first found out, I was like, there's nothing left to do but laugh at this. Like this is just the odds are just so slim that this would ever happen to anyone, that it must have been, this must be meant to be. Like I can't be mad. I have to cheer him on. I don't know how I'm going to watch it. I didn't watch it for the first little while. Like I actually did book a flight to Mexico because I just was like, there was a lot of things that happened before that too. I had lost my job. My boyfriend at the time broke up with me. Then I got cut from the show. So like all these things were happening to me. And then my other ex gets on the show. And I'm like, I can't be here. So I literally went to Mexico. So I wasn't really keeping up with the show, only through like Twitter and stuff. There was a lot of controversy around Ty and things that were happening on the show. So then I was like, okay, maybe I could watch it. So I started like catching up on clips and just like the highlights of it all. And then I kind of got really into it. And then I thought, he's going to win. Like he got so far toward the end that I was like, he's going to win. And like, of course he's going to win, because my luck would just be that, of course, my ex gets on and then he wins. So I ended up watching it all the way through. But during this time, I had met my now girlfriend. My bitterness was like slowly deteriorating, where I was like, I'm glad I didn't get on, because I wouldn't have met her. So I was able to kind of watch it without any bitterness. So I ended up watching like the end of it.
I feel like immediately booking the flight is the most reasonable reaction to something like that.
Right?
I think most people would have just lost it.
Yeah, I was like staying with my parents at the time, because I'd moved out from mine and my ex's house. And I just was like, I can't. It was winter and I'm like, I cannot be here living at my parents'. I'm 33 years old. My life is like up in flames right now. It might not make sense to anyone else, but like I'm just booking the flight and who knows what will happen. I just needed like a long time and in the sun and just to like reflect and then figure out my steps from there. And it was the best thing I could have done.
I don't know. I always say everybody who's in their 30s, the cool people, and I think we're the same age. I'm 35. How old are you?
I will be 35 in like 2 weeks.
Okay. So we're both 89s.
Yeah.
Okay. I always say everyone in their 30s who's cool has this moment where their life kind of falls apart and then you get to rebuild and everything becomes better, as long as you are willing to accept that the life is falling apart.
1,000%.
I didn't have the exact same complicated experience as you, but I know what it was like to have a show delayed for a year. So I was supposed to be on Survivor. I got cast. I was supposed to film in March 2020. And we were getting ready to leave. And a few days before we had to leave, it got canceled because of COVID.
Oh,
and then I had the extra year. But like, you know, you're in limbo. You don't know if it's going to happen again. And in that time, I learned I really could not keep doing the career I was doing. So I ended up quitting my job. I had a bunch of things fall apart, but then also a lot of things came back together and I did the show. And ultimately, I felt like if I played the game when I was originally supposed to film the show, I would have lost.
100%.
And I'm so grateful for the extra year.
Yes.
What was that extra year like for you?
Yeah. Even the producers were like, you know, it's not going to happen this year, but, you know, next year, this happens all the time. And people are so grateful that they didn't get on. And I'm like, whatever. Like, this was my year. And like, you just don't accept it at the beginning. That extra year, like very similar to what you said, I definitely don't think I would have won had I got on season 11. I wasn't ready. I think that so many things were falling apart in my life that Big Brother was like I was like hanging on by a thread, and that thread was Big Brother. So I was almost desperate. It was like my last chance to like prove myself or something to get on that show. Whereas the year that I waited, I really like learned a lot about myself, really grew to like love myself again in a way that like I wasn't capable of the year prior. So many changes happened for me, and I just felt like I didn't even need Big Brother anymore. I thought if I get on, it'll be great. And if not, I'm really happy with where I'm at right now, where I was not happy before. So just like feeling comfortable in your own skin, getting that confidence back that like I needed for life in general, not even for the show, I think gave me the tools to actually win on the season that I did. So like I said, I went on that trip. I met my girlfriend. I never dated a girl before. That was like a huge change for me. I moved back to Toronto. Like so many things happened. So I was so grateful that my life did turn upside down, because everything led me back to where I belonged. And I definitely don't think I would have won had that not happened.
Yeah, it sounds like if you had done Big Brother on season 11, that's what would have validated your worth as a person, at least in your eyes. But then it sounds like you knew that you were a person and you were worthy by the time you played.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As cliche as it sounds, that's exactly what happened. And I feel like similar to you, where you had that year off and you chose a different career path, or you let go of things that weren't serving you anymore. Once you're given that opportunity to play this game or, you know, accomplish this goal, it's almost like you have more reason than the other people on there to win it. And I feel like I had that like going in. It was like, I know everyone's here to win, but just like what I've been going through in the last year, this really is my game to win this year. And like with that mindset, it was everything that I needed to make it happen.
I feel like a lot of people who are fans of the show and fans of shows with any type of social strategy, they underestimate how important something like emotional intelligence is to win. Did you learn anything during that time that affected your strategy that you think set you up to win?
Like I said, I was really bitter when I knew that Ty was on the show, and I was a lot more feisty and always felt like I had something to prove. And so even going on season 12, I thought that the show would bring that side out in me where I would be really defensive and having to like fight in a very aggressive way. I think a lot of the lessons I learned was actually like through the show, not even before, but I realized while I was doing the show, like I am much more calm. I can fight for my point of view in a very different way than I'm used to because I'm really comfortable with myself, because I don't really feel like I have to prove myself to even myself, let alone like these people or the world watching. So a lot of those lessons I was like learning as I was going through it. And it was definitely because of like the time and the year that I had to reflect and like grow as a human being. But I surprised myself during filming where I was like, this is not like the Bayleigh that I'm used to and that people may be used to, but pleasantly surprised that I'm able to like do this in such a genuine and not like in a manipulative, sneaky kind of way.
You were a super fan. I'll assume that you knew the game inside and out as a viewer. But then when you were actually playing the game, you're in there, you're filming the show. Was there anything about that experience that really surprised you?
Oh my gosh, yes. The competitions in general are so much harder than they look on TV. It's so much easier to watch something from the comfort of your home and you're like, I could do that and I could do it so much better than what these people are doing. But when you're in there, you have so much added stress. I was so anxious and there's so much more riding on it. Like you feel like you need to win every single competition. So there's all of that. I was very surprised to learn how close you really do get with people. I never really understood why people were just like saying, I love you after like a week or like crying in each other's arms after a few days. But you really do have this bond with people just because of this shared trauma that you're going through. You're also locked away with them for 24 hours a day. So yes, it's a lot harder than it looks, but it's also like a lot more beautiful than it seems as well, the relationships that you built too. So I was very surprised at all of those things.
Yeah, I think it's easy to watch at home and to just look at it purely as a strategy game where you're supposed to make these moves. But once you're in there and you get to know all of these people, and then there's so many other external pressures you don't really think about. It's like, oh my God, this is my chance. I'm finally on the show. How do I make my dream come true? It's so much more complicated than anyone really knows.
Yes, agreed. Even being on a show, like I thought that I would be very hyper aware that I'm being filmed and I'm on TV, but you get very comfortable very quickly and you kind of forget that you are on a TV show. So I was very surprised how comfortable I was with the whole process, and the thought of being locked away from society for so long was so much more daunting than the actual reality of it. Like you just kind of adapt and it's your new reality, and that's just your life for the next 3 months.
You're in this weird, unreal reality when you're there, even though you know it's real, but you're in this universe that you used to watch, but now you're in it.
Yeah.
Something that was a piece of context that was important to understand for your season is before you won, there hadn't been a female winner on Big Brother Canada for 6 seasons. I feel like I can relate because when I was on Survivor, there hadn't been a female winner for 7 seasons.
Wow.
Did you feel like there was an extra pressure, or was that something that you kept in mind when you were playing the game?
Yes, it was. But had there been a female winner even a year before that, I would still be that determined to get a female to win. I wouldn't say there was added pressure. It was just more, this has to happen. I felt the motivation. I felt the determination. I think a lot of the other girls felt the same way. And it just kind of, there was like this unspoken agreement as soon as we all saw each other where we were like, we are doing this for ourselves, but there's a bigger thing here where we need a female to win, whether it's us personally or one of you. I would have been happy to see any of the other girls win, but knowing that there hadn't been a female winner in that long is definitely just an added fire under our butts to make it happen.
Yeah. Was it something you talked about in the house?
Oh, yeah. We made a pact with the girls day 2. And we kind of just all looked around and we were like, a girl needs to win this year. Like, there hasn't been a female winner in so long. Like, it needs to happen. And I felt that the commitment was very, very genuine throughout the season. You'll see that it didn't actually hold up for a lot of them. But in that moment, we really felt like, when girls come together, it can be so powerful. And it really felt that in that moment. And yeah, I think we all stood pretty strong on that front.
Well, congratulations. You were the one to make it happen.
Thank you.
I also know what it was like to have this show that you watched forever. You have the dream to compete. You do it. You get there. You win. Has it sunk in? Is it still surreal for you?
Yes, it has and it hasn't. Like, I know that I won, but sometimes it feels like a fever dream. Sometimes it feels like, I've watched a show back and I'm looking at it like, I know that person, but I can't connect that that's me, that I actually did that, because it just seemed so surreal for it to even happen. And the fact that even though I kept saying like, I will win when I get on there, I know it's possible I can win, I'm capable of winning. When you actually do it, it's just when your dreams actually come true, it feels too good to be true. So like, it is hard to kind of like believe it. And still, even now, people will say, congratulations, I can't believe you won. I'm like, I truly can't believe it either, because it goes by so fast. Even though the time in there like one day feels like a week, but 1 week feels like a day. So yeah, it happens in the blink of an eye and then you can't even believe it's over. But I know that I won, but sometimes I find it still very hard to believe that I actually did the thing that I've wanted to do for so long.
Don't worry, it'll still happen. I saw the new season of Survivor is going to premiere soon. I think when this interview comes out, it'll have already premiered. But I saw like me in a TikTok for Global, so the channel that it airs on in Canada. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the canon. So that feeling doesn't really go away.
Right. It's really crazy. Even like when I watched the show, I don't know what I was expecting, but even seeing myself on television, it's just because you look at all these reality people in a certain way, you don't really even think that they're real people sometimes. And then you see yourself on there and it just makes it very like, oh, it's like not that big of a deal, but it's also like the biggest deal. And it's very hard to explain.
Did you feel like the version of yourself that you watched on TV, how do you think it compared to your actual experience in the house?
I think that the edit that I got was very, very true to what was happening in the house. I know that at the beginning, like, I was worried that I would be depicted in a certain way because I was very emotional. I was having, outbursts. I was very reactive, and I have very different sides of me. I can be very emotional. I can be very reactive. I can be very aggressive, but I also can be, really relatable and funny and charismatic. So I wasn't 100% sure it could have gone a couple of different ways. Like editing, they can make you seem a little bit more on one side or the other, but watching it back, it was very true to who I was, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm glad that they kind of showed all of it. But yeah, what I watched was very true to the experience that I had.
Congratulations. 'Cause I feel like that's something that not a lot of people experience on reality TV too.
Yeah, it's true. I know that there's a lot of people from past seasons and even my season that expressed that they didn't really feel like they got a fair edit, or they wish they would have saw a certain side of them. Even watching it back, like there's certain people on my season that they didn't really show this side of them or like the best side of them. And same goes with certain people that they might have depicted in a really good light. And there's a lot of things that they didn't show. So yeah. I got very lucky, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where even though the show is something that you've wanted to do forever, you have to see the end product as something that's separate from you, where it's like what they show about you doesn't define who you are as a person. It's just cool that you were on there,
Exactly. And that's kind of what you sign up for. Like, you are giving up your right to tell your side of the story, and you hope for the best.
Yes. Something that I think nobody was expecting, this was a shock to me, is after your season, it was announced that Big Brother Canada was canceled. So you became the last BB Can winner.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I'm honestly very sad that it is canceled. Like, I mean, if there's going to be one last winner, I'll take it.
Yes.
But
amazing bookend.
Yes. But that was never like, I would never have wanted that. I would never think like, oh, if the show got canceled after me, that'd be great. I was really looking forward to, and I still am because I don't think it's over forever, but really looking forward to like watching more seasons post my season and see how, I felt about that, or just watching other people go on that journey, having lived that experience. And I can still watch, other countries' version of Big Brother, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And it will never be the same. So again, it kind of like, because my story is just so crazy and the odds of it happening the way it did were so slim, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense to me that, of course, it got canceled after I won. Like, what are the chances of that happening? So nothing surprises me anymore, but I do hope that it's not over forever.
Yeah, you definitely had a unique reality TV experience where you almost get on, then your ex gets on, and then he wins, and then you win, and then the show is over.
Yeah. It's very just like, I don't know who's behind this, like whatever, who's like controlling the universe, but it happened in my favor this time, so I'll take it, but nothing shocks me anymore. Yeah.
It's sad because I feel Big Brother Canada as a franchise is so good at really integrating alumni into current seasons and really celebrating all of the alumni who have been on the show. Was there something that you were really looking forward to that might not be able to happen now that the show is canceled?
Yeah, like even just that, even next season, maybe I could have gone on there to host a competition, or maybe had been able to be a mentor to the next winner, or just house guests that like need someone. Because when I came off the show, there were so many people that reached out to me, people from past seasons, like my ex included, that were just so helpful in navigating life post Big Brother or post any reality show. I was really looking forward to meeting the next house guests and maybe being that person for them, or even just, for this tradition to continue on. Like we had an amazing weekend of alumni from past seasons, from US seasons. They all came to Toronto, and it was like really, really special. And I hope that doesn't end. And like, that's something that I was really looking forward to for seasons to come, like just to always be part of this family that continues to grow. Like, I don't want it to stop with us.
And hopefully it keeps going. And I don't know, I feel like it's not going to be gone forever too. It's just such an institution in Canada. I think one way or another, it's going to be back.
Yes, I believe that too. Maybe not next season, but like, I don't think there's networks out there that are willing to let Big Brother Canada like not be a thing. I think any network would be very fortunate to have that in their program, and can be better than ever.
Yeah, somebody else pick it up.
Yeah, someone pick it up. I'll come back.
After winning a reality show, I know that you get so much attention, both positive and negative. And as you said, early in your Big Brother journey, you had some outbursts. So I think that initially people were unsure about your outbursts, but by the end, everybody I've talked to is thrilled that you were the winner. But it's still, even if it's positive or negative, it's so much attention. So how do you manage all of this attention while also having your real life?
Like having a pretty, I wouldn't say strong, but like I had a pretty big presence on social media anyway before the show. So I was already kind of used to putting myself out there to be judged and try and like keep a level head about myself. Like I'm someone that deeply cares about what my friends and family think and feel, but I really couldn't care less about what strangers think about me and stuff. So I felt that I was pretty prepared for that side of things. I don't think I was prepared for like how much love I would have received, just the positive support that I got. I had no idea that would happen for me, because you don't know when you're in there how you're going to be perceived. I hoped for the best, but I really did not expect the feedback that I got. And I was really, really lucky for people to be happy that I won. Some people weren't, but
that always happens.
But for the most part, I get recognized for being who I am. I was celebrated for those things. So like, I feel so fortunate that I got a really nice, positive feedback from the audience and stuff. But again, just keeping my close friends and family very much surrounding me to keep myself grounded. And when you're on a reality show like that, you don't have those people there. So you really learn to handle things on your own, which I'm not used to. I'm used to like calling up my mom or my best friend and, bouncing things off of them. And what do you think of this before I make any sort of decision? And when you're on a show like that, you don't have that. So you learn to really rely on yourself and trust your gut and stay true to yourself. So I think like even being on the show kind of prepares you to just be okay with whatever's going to happen, because you develop this really strong relationship with you. So yeah, I think just having those people in your corner to reassure you. Like my poor girlfriend and all my friends, like I've needed a lot of reassurance from them just after the show. And yeah, like that's why you have a support system.
It sounds like it was so good that you did BB Can 12 instead of BB Can 11. It seems like you were also set up to deal with all of the attention after the show and have the right people around you this season too.
Yes, 100%. I cannot say it enough, especially because at first I was like, why wouldn't they put Ty and I on the season? That would make for really good TV. There would have been some drama, who knows? But I'm so grateful that didn't happen, and that, my journey on the show was really just about me and not about anything else. Having so many setbacks happen to me before I got on the show, I felt like I had nothing to lose. I felt like I've already gone through the worst experience of my life, that no matter what happens on Big Brother, if I get sent home, I've already been sent home by Big Brother. So like I was prepared for the worst, and then the best happened, thankfully.
Oh, all for the better. Well, one community that was so excited to see you win was the queer community. And congratulations to you and your girlfriend. I'm also a woman who started dating women in her 30s. So I'm like, this is just the way to be.
Yes.
How did the queer community respond?
Oh my God. Like in the most amazing way. I honestly didn't even realize that it would be something to be celebrated in that community. Like I wasn't really thinking, I have a bit of imposter syndrome with this because I'm new and I'm bi. So a lot of times I'm like, do people even take me seriously? Or am I part of the LGBTQ community? Like, do I fit in? And coming out of it, so many people, so many messages were like, thank you for representing for our community. And it was really overwhelming. And I went back home to Halifax, Nova Scotia, where I'm from, and hosted a Pride event. And it was just really, really overwhelming and heartwarming to receive that kind of love, especially from the queer community where I felt a little bit like an outsider, and they just welcomed me in with open arms and even praised me for being some sort of figure for them. So I could not be happier and so heartwarming. It really was so touching for me.
Oh my God. I can relate to the imposter syndrome. And especially when you're someone who's quote unquote newer and then you're on this platform and you have all this attention. You're like, oh, do I deserve this? Do I deserve to be the representative? I totally hear you.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And I feel like until you get that kind of support, you're not even sure yourself. And I can't speak for other people that have come out and stuff, but even me coming out to my family and friends, just that overwhelming amount of support, you just are okay, it's okay to be me. And within the queer community, it's just a lesson of you don't have to be a certain anything. You just are you. And that's why you're being celebrated, because that's what being queer is.
Yeah. Everybody's on their own perfect timeline. And I think that I've always understood how representation and stuff is important. And I think that now coming into the queer identity and then, living that imposter syndrome life and then seeing somebody who is also queer, I'm like, oh, I understand how amazing it feels. Seeing you won and then learning that you had a girlfriend, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I get how important and special it is.
Right. And that's kind of what it was for me is oh, I didn't realize, being my true authentic self would resonate with so many people. I'm so glad that it did, because it just means more and more people are becoming more comfortable with who they are and admitting who they are to the world, that it is a brave thing to do. And sometimes you don't realize that because it's kind of your only option. But yeah, it felt really nice to be recognized just for being who I am. And I never thought that would even happen. So
when I publicly came out, I was like, no one's gonna care. Everybody's gay. It doesn't matter. I learned, especially sapphic women are so pro other queer women, and it does matter, and people are excited. And even with you, it doesn't matter when you first started dating girls, even though I love that it was in your 30s because I feel less alone, but it's it matters, and it's fucking awesome that you get to be you and you did it.
I don't know if it's just because I just recently came out, but there's a gay awakening happening in the world. And I feel more and more females especially are just being comfortable with saying, maybe I like girls too. And it's so nice to see that and resonate with that and celebrate that, and seeing even pop stars like Chappell Roan and Billie Eilish, they're being celebrated for being that way. It makes me so happy for the next generation, just they will not feel so hidden.
When I was a kid and I was watching Survivor, I did not see any queer women winning. So it's so nice to know that there are people who can watch you and to know that like you were out at the time that your show was on. That's the only thing. I wasn't out when I was on Survivor, but it's okay. It's my own journey. But yeah, it changes things for people. Maybe somebody can figure it out before they're in their 30s or figure it out older because they saw you.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's a really nice sentiment to think about.
Now that you've had this big dream come true, I've heard that you took the summer off to figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
How do you even decide what to do after a dream like this comes true?
I feel like because this whole thing happened the way it was meant to happen, I've put a lot of trust in the universe to just guide me along the way. There was a lot of moments in my life where I feel like I should be doing this or I have to do this because, it's going to make this person proud or it's going to make sense or I can't possibly chase these dreams because I have to have a pension or you just feel pressure from society to do certain things. And I found that only positive things happen for me when I let those things go. So I took the summer off just to kind of digest what had just happened to me. Luckily, winning gave me the freedom to take some time off. And like similar to you, I was bartending and doing personal training. I was doing very, odd jobs just to get by. And it wasn't really like my passion. So I'm just figuring out what sparks joy for me. I've always dipped my toes into like different ponds of things that make me happy and focusing my energy on only those things. And I trust that like the doors that will open for me will happen at the right time. So yeah, I've just been, like I said before the show, I was a social media person, but now like even more so. I love making content. I've been working with certain brands and that stuff's all really, really fun for me. So I do know like I want to be doing more work in that world and, supporting women and fighting for women and the queer community, like things like that and immersing myself into those kind of things. So I don't know quite what's going to happen for me, but I am pursuing things that align with those kinds of things and things that just like feel right for me. So we'll see.
I think that that's exactly the best mindset. I think that after winning a show like this, you feel all of this pressure. And there's this misconception that everyone thinks all of these people are banging on your door and you're getting all these opportunities. But there's actually so much time where you feel like you need to figure things out right away because the window is closing. And then you're like, do I be an influencer? Do I do this? Do I do this? And I totally understand all of the weird pressure that comes with it. But I think that you just sticking to what is important to you and figuring it out and knowing that it's going to come to you, I think that that is the exact right mindset to have.
Yeah, thank you. It's hard. Like at the beginning, it was like, okay, now's the time. You have to act now. You got to get your face seen. But then it's like, that doesn't feel right to me because now it's causing me all this stress and anxiety. Again, like being accepted for things that don't actually like align with my value of myself. So saying no to things is actually going to lead me down the right path and saying yes to only things that like feel right to me. It will work out. I'm not going to like die. Like I'm not going to just drop off the face of the earth just because the show is over. Whatever is meant for me will be. And I know that like only good things will happen for me if I just allow the universe to do its thing.
Yeah. You are not Big Brother Canada. You are Bayleigh.
Exactly.
You have so much to offer. And I think that it's just being grounded in that. That's when everything's going to be fine. And honestly, like I was fortunate. I was the first Canadian to win Survivor. So there was excitement around me. But I'd say the first year to 2 years, I was super stressed about making sure that I'm using the opportunity. And I think that that's when everybody thinks all of this stuff just rolls in. And I remember working so hard to try to make things happen. And now that I'm 3 years after the show, I'm finally like, okay, I think I'm going to be okay. I think I figured it out. So it's okay if it takes time.
Yeah, thank you. Because again, imposter syndrome, you think like, well, everyone else seems to be doing so well. Like, why am I not getting, there's so much pressure of like, shouldn't I be here when I feel like I'm here? But you have to remember like how far you've actually come so far and the things that you've accomplished just by staying true to yourself. And then everything's gonna work out. I trust in that and I know that. And seeing people like you and, there's people that inspire me and people that I really relate to, that I look up to. And I'm like, they're just doing their thing and we're all human beings. We all feel the same things. Some days we wake up and feel like we're killing it. And some days we wake up and we think, what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm a failure. So
Yeah.
it ebbs and flows. You just have to let those things like go through you and leave you and keep your head on your shoulders, because what life's about, it's going to be very up and down, but just trusting.
Yeah. Everybody listening, we have both won shows and we still have days where we're like, what is going on? What am I doing? So you're doing fine. If you're listening, you're doing fine.
You're doing great.
And even you, just over a year ago, you were the version of Bayleigh who impulsively booked a flight to Mexico, and then now look at you. So you have come so far. So congratulations on that too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Bayleigh, I'm sure people would love to keep up with you in your journey. Where can people follow you? And is there anything that you want to promote or tell people about?
There's some things coming up. There may be a podcast in my future. I can't announce like when or what it's called yet, but you can follow me on Instagram at Bayleigh, TikTok at Bayleigh Pelham. I'm on Twitter. I think it's Pelham Bayleigh. I'm on all the things, but stay tuned because things are coming and I'm very excited to continue sharing my life with everyone.
Yes, and you should. I'm so excited for everything you have coming up.
Thank you.
Bayleigh, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Is Bayleigh not awesome? If you are a Bayleigh fan or if you know any Big Brother Canada fans, make sure you share this episode with them. Now, I love to end each episode by answering a listener question. And today's question is, what is your most favorite and least favorite social media platform? Okay, I mean, I started the episode saying that I laid off of social media during the summer, but I was still consuming, So I would say my favorite social media platform is Instagram, which as I see that, I feel like I sound like a decrepit millennial, but I think that I like Instagram because I understand how it works and I understand how to use it. It's the platform that I have friends on. I feel like most of the people who are my peers, who are my age, are on it. So it feels like I can both share with the greater audience and fans and stuff, but then also with a lot of people I know, and we could be in community together. So I find I have the most comfort with Instagram, but I'm afraid in saying that, I'm going to sound so old and out of date. So in terms of my least favorite, I feel like I don't hate any of them, but I do have quite the love-hate with TikTok. In terms of why I quote unquote hate TikTok, one, such a time suck. I feel like I can get lost in watching TikToks for hours. Honestly, it's designed so well. I understand that's the whole point of it. It's to get our attention and to make sure that we are always glued into what's happening. In terms of my time management, I have a challenge with TikTok. At the same time, I do appreciate that with TikTok, I can get exposed to what's happening in the world and get exposed to different points of view and really understand the zeitgeist of what's happening in a way that I can't with Instagram. But also that might just be the For You page that I have because I like to see, what's on trend and what people are talking about. But in terms of making content, I feel like TikTok, I don't know, is this where I feel old? I feel like I still haven't figured it out. I feel like I still don't quite get it and get what I'm supposed to be making there. I guess I should just be making stuff and just putting it on there and then just trying it and figuring out what works for me. And I promise that this fall, I will be better at posting on TikTok. I feel like I was so good at TikTok a few years ago and then I just dropped off. But maybe, again, I feel like I sound like an old, out-of-date millennial where I'm like, I don't really understand TikTok, so I'm not posting on it. But I will post on there. And actually, I am starting a TikTok account for this podcast. So follow Happy to See Me Pod on TikTok if you're on there. And actually, I would love if you could support the podcast by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And the podcast is also on YouTube. It is at Happy to See Me Pod. And you can follow us on Instagram and now on TikTok at Happy to See Me Pod. Thank you so much for being here this week. Looking forward to season 3, and I will be happy to see you next Monday.